Welcome to episode 5 of my hovercar origin series. This here is a 1/25th scale Galaxy Limited 1947 Fleetmaster Coupe, aka the Flightmaster. I'm often asked how I come up with these anti-gravity concepts, and the truth is that I really don't start the design process until I'm home with the model and I have it in my hands and I'm comparing it to some of the parts I have in my inventory, and I can dissect the car from that point. However, this Chevy called out to me from the top shelf of the hobby store. It said to me, "Hey buddy, I heard you like them with big fenders." And I said, "Holy shit, those are the biggest fenders I've ever seen." And it said to me, "For $57.98, I can be yours." And I thought to myself, oh, that's why you're on the top shelf where the expensive models are. Anyway, I took it home that day, started thinking about how I can modify the back here, much like the 37 Chevy, the jet rod. I can cut this out and make the back end of the car VTOL, so it swivels down and pivots. I'll show you that part later. But more importantly, on the front here, when I first saw this model, I thought, man, that would make a crazy turbine. And that's what I tried to achieve by cutting the end here at a steep angle and removing that piece and turning it into part of the turbine exhaust. So air would enter through the intakes in the front, and then the thrust would come out of this side. I widen the fenders by removing them from the body and then adding styrene strip across to each fender, making sure they were all glued together, and then dressing them up with a bolt at each end for a steampunk look. To widen the car, I had to widen the front bumper as well, and I added some spacers, painted them the body color, and some landing lights or some flying lights. Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there because I know we keep looking at it. So let's just tackle it right now. You're thinking, what in the hell is going on right here? All these pipes and these steel angular pieces sticking out of the hood. Why is it so blurry? And I agree, it kind of looks strange. Let me try to explain. Maybe it's better I just show you. What we got going on here is dystopian future retro technology. DERFT for short. It's way too complicated for me to explain, but let me tell you what, trust me, it's pretty neat stuff. Anyways, I can just list off the parts. There's a high capacity aluminum fuel tank to cut down on some of the weight of this beast. We have some Art Deco on the sides of the fuel tank, and we got a couple of pipes coming off the Art Deco. There's a lot of plumbing going on down in that corner. And by the looks of it, yep, there's more on the other side. I'm glad I could show it to you. It's not something that gets seen very often. Can we get a close-up in there? Check that out. There's some of the plumbing, and there's a good look at that Art Deco. In all seriousness, I widened the car by moving the fenders outward and by installing these styrene strips. It looked a little funny. It needed something in this area here. You could see all the pipes and hoses, but it needed something in this top area. So what it really is, that's a decorative piece. It doesn't really have a function, but it looks cool as hell. It's made from square styrene tube. It's one small tube placed inside of another, and I cut a little L-shaped end off of it and painted them two different colors. One's more of a rust color, one's more of a steel color. Contrast. You can call it Art Deco. I think it looks pretty cool. You need interesting things to look at. The rear fenders on this one are much like those on the 37 Chevy Jet Rod, my first ever build. I used an X-Acto blade to remove the fenders. I then created a hinge and installed some hydraulics to help keep the back end from coming too far down. It's hinged like a VTOL system for takeoff, maneuvering. Here's some old photos. If you push the back end up enough, it bolts by friction. And there's a look at the trunk intake. Of course, I widened the back end as well, same way as I did the front, using styrene strip. Glued it to each fender, and then for continuity, I put one bolt head at each strip end. You can see I also had to widen the rear bumper, so I installed some spacers, painted those body color. These two rounded exhaust off these two rear side turbines are 1/2-inch diameter styrene tube with a 3/8 diameter styrene tube on the inside. I created an air intake on the trunk. For this fancy giant fan blade motor. I had to use that fan on this because it just fits the car. A little corny, but you know what? It fits. Here's a little look with the back end extended. There's some pipes up in there. During these videos, the front became loose. All right, check out this undercarriage. This one's pretty crazy. We've got quite a few Gundam parts. Under the front fender, that silver piece is supposed to look like a turbine. There's two hydraulic cylinders. Looks like the paint has come off one of them. It's just half a tube stuck in there. These two thrusters came off a Gundam. Help for vertical takeoff. One of the first models where I actually put additional thrusters under the car for vertical takeoff. Love the side profile on this. I'd love to be able to see all those parts under the car. While I was taking the videos, the back end became detached from the two cables holding it. I have to reinsert those two cables in those two holes. But it gives you a good view of how far the back end of the car pivots down. And shows a little more detail inside there. So I thought I'd leave it in the video. And unfortunately, when I hook these back up, that's all I get to record of the interior. For some reason, I don't think I had my brain working. I filmed the rear end of the car and forgot to film the interior. Oh, idiot. So like many of my other cars, this has a visor. It came with the kit. Comes with the visor. I'm pretty much going to install it. And the paint job, I use the chipping technique. This is the This is the second model in the series that I've used the chipping technique on, and not the last, but I took it too far once again. I took too much off the top, and I'm also not happy with the aqua blue or this green color. It's a bit too, it makes it look like a toy instead of a full-size car.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
So unfortunately, not really happy with the paint. I think it would have looked so much better in a dark color, burgundy, navy blue, maybe navy blue with a white top. I have a couple pictures of it in black. It looks pretty good when it was primered. But yeah, burgundy would look cool. The color's just too light. If you like this Origin series, please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and please subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to see the next video in the Origin series, click the link above. Thanks for watching.
Okay, let's go.